Hey, Richard, how you doing? You got to turn on your audio.
Afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, everybody.
Hey, how you doing there?
All right.
All right. So here we are. It's 2 o'clock. We're back. Okay, we got a few things to talk about.
I have a question. Is John in the NES Space ship or something?
I'm sorry, what?
It looks like he is, right?
Is who?
He's looking like John's background with the color and the stars and everything.
Oh, yeah,
that
there he
Jim?
is. Okay, I can actually see him.
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
one of the things that you can do on Zoom is you can put a background behind you. I don't generally do that, but
If you can figure out how to do it, that is.
Yeah.
John, do you want to inform everybody how you got around to doing that?
Yeah, up where you've got your mute and your video icons, there's something that says more with dots.
Okay.
Click the more, and one of the options is background.
Oh, okay. Just if every time you go on,
Mm-hmm.
Then it's permanent.
you have to
It
do it one
stays there.
time.
So you
Okay.
click on the stop video.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay.
Where it says more,
Okay,
Mhm.
wait.
Yeah.
more options.
You're saying when I first open it,
Mhm.
It should be where you have the option to mute or unmute your microphone, where it shows the microphone and the camera. Should be in the same.
okay. Stop. Okay. So I see stop video, and then I see a little arrow pointing upward.
Now this is right there where it says more.
Oh, so
there's
choose
dots.
virtual background. I see it now. Thank you. I got it. I hope.
Oh,
All right.
I don't have it. Sorry.
I see. I'll try it.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So
Oh,
we
by
ready?
the way, I need to tell you, Charles, that I get on a Windows 10 class this morning at 10, and he didn't stop till 11:40.
Oh.
So that's how I missed class this morning.
And who was this?
What is his name? Jeff K something.
What class was that for?
Windows 10.
Oh, okay. It was one of the computer classes. All right.
Yeah, I need to tell them that class is it goes over too many classes.
Well, you always have the option of, you can either stay or you can leave.
Yeah, but I want to stay. I want to do both.
Oh, well, kind of hard to be like a particle and be at two places at one time. So, unfortunately,
I know. I just think you should have two classes, one at 10 and one at 12, or one at 2-hour classes takes too much time.
yeah, some people have said that, though. I've been pushing to try to get the, Department of Senior Services to go ahead and get a paid account so that we can go over. Because a lot of times I don't have time to get around to everybody.
That's true too.
Yeah, but then that's kind of why I broke it up into a morning and an afternoon session so I can, try to cover all my bases there. Anyway. So a question came up. John was asking if I would take the time to cover some of the old masters, during these sessions. And I told him I would be open to doing that. That's a really big, broad subject. And there's in thinking about it, about all I could accomplish with, if I used one day, say next Monday, as a day to kind of cover you know, the old masters, you know, basically talking from the time of about the pre-Renaissance up through like the Baroque period, which is when the Renaissance ended. There's a lot of artists to cover in there, and I could probably get like maybe 5 or 10 of them, you know, the like Da Vinci and, you know, a few others. But really to cover like, you know, what you would call all of the old masters, you know,
That would be Pete.
yeah, that's a big feat. In fact, I think if you look around out there on the internet, trying to remember the guy's name, English guy, he did like a series of like 40 or 50 videos that are all on the just kind of the what we call the old masters, you know, really from about the time of Vermeer back to the beginning of the Renaissance.
What if when you reference a current painting as the style of, say, Vermeer, you could flash a Vermeer up?
Well, I could, if, you know, if that thought had come to my head, you know.
Right, ahead of time, right.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I've taken classes in art history and I've gone through all that, but it's been a while. And their picture or painting styles don't always come to my mind when you mention them.
right. Okay. So my answer to you about that is, like I said, I'll be happy to take maybe next Monday and we'll use the morning and the afternoon. And I'll cover, you know, the Renaissance period. Really, you know, I could probably dash through from the Renaissance up to, you know, say about the time of the Impressionist, kind of stop there. And that's really what you would call your old masters.
Right, that's basically the period, right.
Yeah. So you're really looking from about the 12th century up to the, you know, early 1800s, you know, early to mid 1800s. So, and that's a lot of ground to cover, you know.
Yeah, maybe not that early, maybe just the ones that show so much of the form and the dark
Yeah, though if you're going to start talking about the old masters, you kind of need to go back to people like Giotto, who most people don't really hear about, but everything that we consider the old masters is really based on a lot of the things he came up with. Because he was actually the guy who sort of invented perspective. Okay. So he would be a good place to start, and then you can kind of see how people built on top of it.
It was just a thought if everybody would be, you know.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, you know, I guess, you know, send me an email if you have any particular, you know, feelings that you would like to do it, or if you have any strong feelings that you don't want to do it. And if you have any particular artist that you would like me to talk about, you know, such as Giotto or Bernini or any of the really early Renaissance painters, okay? And artists, all right? So with that, I'm gonna move into, we're gonna talk about some of the things you guys have sent in, and there's some pretty interesting stuff. And I'm gonna start, let's see. I'm gonna kind of start where I ended up last week and had left off. And yeah, I wanna start here. And this was a painting that Lady did.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, can everybody see that? It's kind of small right now. I'll blow it up.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. You showed that before.
Yeah, just briefly, and I had to kind of dash through it because we were running out of time. But I wanted to talk about it in particular because this is a fairly small painting. I think she said it was like about a 5x7, something like that. But she did it as a poured painting, all right? So it's acrylic, and there's a, you know, you can basically take acrylic, you can pour it into a container like a cup, but you change the color and you layer it, and occasionally you would put some kind of oil, and she told me what it was. I can't remember right offhand.
It's silicone oil.
Is it silicone? Okay.
Yeah.
And the silicone actually creates these sort of bubbles, you know, in the color, and sort of separates the layers. So you get this interesting, you know, sort of texture or pattern, you know, in the pieces. And, you know, more
I
important
would tell
than,
everyone I took time and painted that piece by piece. I said, I would tell everyone I painted that piece by piece.
oh, you would? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. There's a lot of,
I love it.
yeah, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about using these techniques, and it's kind of interesting stuff. You know, a lot of people are experimenting with it, and it's an interesting way of creating an abstract piece of art. The thing that I really liked, though, you know, when she shared this piece with me, was the fact that she kind of went into the story about how this made her feel and what it made her think about.
Oh, okay.
And so this is basically her email to me. And
I'm on the
you know,
gardenia.
pardon?
On the gardenias.
No. This is not about the. Yeah. She was talking about the gardenias, but the abstract painting she did kind of reminded her of, you know, made her a little homesick because she could remember the smell of gardenias when she was riding the streetcar with her mom, you know, when she was a kid going to church on Sunday morning. And, you know, all the different sort of memories and images and things that brought up for her.
Okay.
And, yeah. And that's kind of the thing with art. You know, you have, you know, when you look at a visual image, it may not be a picture of somebody sitting on a bench waiting for a streetcar, right? It may just be colors, textures, patterns, but it reminds you of things. It brings things up, you know.
Now I need to see the painting again.
Yeah, we can go back. But, you know, and that's really kind of the value of art, you know.
Yeah.
Now, does that look like gardenias or anything? Not particularly. You know,
it does now.
Now that she suggested that, see, now it does kind of become, okay, so I can see flowers and things. But that's really kind of the beauty of making art or creating art or even just living with pieces of art. And, you know, one of the things probably, you know, the value of art is really not in how much the piece cost in a monetary way, but how it makes you feel or how you react to it. And the thing is, you know, I've collected art my whole life. I've made art my whole life. But there are pieces, you know, from other artists, friends and things like that, that I've had over the years that I collect. And living with those pieces bring a certain joy, you know, to my life. Because it's like every time I walk down the hall and I see, you know, a particular painting or a piece of pottery or something like that, that I know the story behind, I know who made that, you know, that sort of connects me to where I've been in my journey through life. And, you know, art is valuable, you know, in that sense, you know, just living with things that you enjoy and that you like, right? So whether or not you create art or whether or not, you know, you collect art, you know, think about that a little bit more, you know, as you kind of go around your house and look at things. I'm sure there's things that each and every one of you collected over the years. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a painting. It could be a piece of furniture. It could be a piece of pottery, you know, anything. And you get this sort of, you know, strong emotional attachment or strong emotional feeling, you know, to that piece. And it brings back memories and things for you. So be aware of that, you know, try to value that a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to the top now that we've.
I've been playing with it myself. You can see this.
Yeah,
Because it's not painting, it's actually chemistry, engineering. I don't know. You mix chemicals and paints and oil, and then whatever comes.
yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm still not happy with it, but when you look at other works on YouTube, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. It's like anything. When you're beginning to play with the process, you know, it's like how many times are you going to fail, and probably you're going to fail a couple of times. You know, and then little by little, you're going to begin to get the technique down, and then you're going to little by little do a little more research and find out a little bit about the materials you're working with, and maybe find different ways of manipulating them and playing with them.
Thank you.
So, in fact, we're going to show the piece that you sent me. In fact, I'll start with that because I'm going to pick on you for a little bit.
This is work in progress.
Right. I know, but it's very different from some of your other works that you sent in. And this is, I'm assuming this is not a collage.
No, it's like when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
like in high school, I used to sketch
Mm-hmm.
things like this in a pencil in my notebooks and fill it up with a pencil.
Okay.
And now that I'm trying to be like something like, looks like an artist, I am trying once in a while to do it in color.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar to what you have with like Miro does
Right.
things like that. So I'm like trying to imitate art.
You're trying to imitate.
And since I emailed you this one, I have it here, and I emailed you. I don't know what position to put it.
Oh,
because
I can see it back there. I can see it back there by your lamp. You know?
yeah, this is the like turning it 180 degrees around.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it looks. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've also got it turned, you know, well, mine would be upside down to the way yours is sitting right now. So I wasn't really sure which would be the top or the bottom. But, you know, what I would say about this piece right now is you've got a really good start, you know, on a nice abstract painting. It kind of reminds me a little bit about the drawing that Betty did last week with the gardenias. You know, the shapes and things are pretty similar, you know, in ways. So yeah, it
Looks
seems
like a bird. You can see the beak and the eyes up at the top.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. All right, now I'm assuming, but I could be wrong. Okay, did you put the colors down first, or did you put the black outline down first?
No, I did an outline in black with a marker. I used a marker to do the shape with two markers. It was black and one line was red. And then I painted the background.
Okay.
And then I came back and filled it up with color.
Okay.
So the marker was just a background.
Okay. So now this is acrylic or is this oil?
Acrylic. I just do acrylics, and I change colors in the middle. The one that I sent you was the original. And then I have this one on the back on my behind me.
Right. And it looks like you've probably shifted the colors from what I'm looking at right here on the screen.
Yeah, it's a little bit changed.
Yeah. Okay.
And I added those little dots
Hmm.
that look like I don't know.
A ball.
I send you another email lately, but
Okay.
probably too late.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the one that I've got right now, but I can look
Yeah.
at the one you got back by your lamp, and it seems a little different.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it looks like you're kind of heading the direction I would recommend anyway, which is, you know, try to expand your color palette, make a little more variation, you know, between, you know, these shapes so that they're not all sort of within that 2 or 3 color range.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more you can make it varied and more subtle, and right now you're treating them all as sort of flat shapes. And
Yeah.
and you can stay that way, that's fine. But the other thing you could do is you could make some kind of variation within those areas. You know, if you started off with this being lighter here and darker there, it's going to have an effect to push part of that shape forward and the other part back. So it's going to break up that flat.
Yeah. I will work on it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Play with it, experiment with it. And
yeah, thank
and if
you.
it is like you said, it's like a Sharpie or a marker, and you're using acrylic, you should be able to paint over that, and like you should be able to take some of that line work out of there if you want or if you need to, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm painting on top of it with acrylic.
Okay, all right. But yeah, you got a good start on it. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. And how large is this? Like about 11 by 14?
11 by 12 by 16.
Oh, 12 by 16. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it should make a nice little experimental piece.
Yeah.
And then you sent me 2 other pieces earlier. And,
Yeah, this I did for my son for Father's Day.
right.
So I did a collage, and it was like a quick job with some pictures of him and his kids.
Mm-hmm.
So to improve his morale, and it worked very good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. What I was going to say to you is if you're going to do things like this, right?
Yes.
You have the pictures and they're all kind of about the same size and they're spaced really evenly, right?
The pictures I just copied from what I have and put it into Word so I can squeeze them and make them bigger, smaller, whatever I want.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is if I were going to do something like this, okay, I might pick like one picture that I want to really focus on. And I might make that in scale bigger than some of the others. Change, you know, have more variety in the size of the scale. And, and that way your eye goes to a particular part of it. Right now, it's all kind of equal.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and again, you know, I know you've done that. You've already sent it to him. So, yeah, we're not going to go back and change it. But if
I didn't have much time to play with it. My wife sent me to buy some present for him. Okay. I didn't find anything. So driving back home, I was thinking, okay, I'll do a collage and send them like a greeting card, you know?
Yeah, and that was a lovely idea, you know. But as a piece of art, again, we could play with it. We can make it a lot more interesting, you know, by doing the simple things like playing with the scale and does one image sort of merge into another, you know?
Yes.
Rather than keeping all just separate parts, right? You know.
Yeah, this was like a little kid in kindergarten project.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost like a photo album or a catalog, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know it's like everything is kind of about equal. Okay. Now your other piece you sent me you know, I think tied together better, again, because the scale, you know, it's like the two pieces, like the Scream and the girl with the pearl earring, they seem to be more dominant because they're larger in size slightly. Now you could have pushed that more, you know me, I'm always go push it more.
Yeah.
You know, but the concept of this, you know, and the way that you put it together and everything worked really nicely.
It started with the girl with the earring, but
Yeah.
I didn't like trying to paint it myself like a lot of our buddies here did.
Mhm.
I will not be able to do it. So I started thinking, I came up with what I found on Google, my friend.
Okay. And hey, look, it's all fair, right?
Yeah.
This is about, you know, it's your interpretation. And so you've taken, you know, you took an image and it inspired you to do a piece of art that's kind of timely, right?
Yeah.
And talking about what's going on right now. So, okay.
Thank you.
I think you did fairly well with it. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Is Fran here? I can't really see who we've got online right now.
Here you go. All right. Hi, Charles.
How you doing, Fran?
All right. How you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to talk about this piece a little bit more. I know we kind of briefly went over it. Was it last Wednesday or something like that?
Oh, I wasn't around.
You weren't around? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that you did it.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanted, you know, I remember you starting this, you know, in class when we were at Vincent, right?
Yeah.
And you had said when you sent this to me that you had added more to it.
Well, I changed it. I redid it. The sun was on the bottom. It's on the top now.
Okay. All right. Well, this is definitely, it kind of reminds me of obviously a landscape, but you know, the way I kind of read this and everybody's interpretation is going to be different. It kind of reminds me of like the lavender fields and things in the south of France.
Hmm.
You know, because they have these vast fields at certain times of year that turn absolutely purple. And it's just these rows of purple flowers that are blooming.
Lavender, Charles? Is that lavender?
Pardon?
You know if that's lavender? You know, the flower lavender?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they're growing in there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, traveling through that area. It was really beautiful. But, you know, looking at this, you know, you have a nice composition going on. I like the fact, I'm trying to remember how it was originally, but, you know, your placement of the sun, your eye is drawn really right to this point. This is kind of your focal point in the painting. But how you get there is kind of nice because of the angles and the way, you know, you brought the eye back and forth, you know, back to that point. And so, you know, looking at the color, you know, you've got fairly good depth in the color. This seems to be a little bit more intense than, say, the color back here. So this begins to push back. That begins to come forward. This comes forward even more. So again, it's kind of laying down for you, and your eye travels back in space a little bit. Now, you know, just like I was telling Ilan, you could do more with it. You know, you could gray this down more and get it to sit further back, you know, and be a little more conscientious about changing, even though it's all going to be kind of purple, changing that purple from something that's a little more muted in the background to something that's a little more intense in the middle ground, right? You know, the intensity of the greens up in here are fine, you know, but if I really wanted to kind of create that, you know, a sense of distance and depth in there, you know.
So make it more intense in the front and muted in the back, you mean?
Right, yeah. Yeah, so as you move back in the painting, just gray those colors down a little bit so that they're not as strong, as the shape that's in front of it. And that will give it more depth. Okay? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, true.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to move on. We're down to our last 10 minutes here again. Gee, this goes fast. Jean sent in, this is a watercolor and pen sketch Jean sent in of the gardenia. And she also sent this in, which was for peaches. Now, Jean, are these both watercolor?
Yes,
Okay, all right. And, I'm guessing that you're considering both of these done, right?
both of them done, is that what you said?
Yeah, finished.
Yes,
Okay, all right. So, and are these both on paper or?
yes,
Okay, all right.
both of them watercolor paper.
Yeah, I mean, they both kind of fall into the category of like a botanical study. And, if they are on paper, and are they watercolor or are they acrylic?
Watercolor.
Okay. So yeah, then I would probably, if I were going to frame or mat or do something with these, I would put a mat around them and then put them in a frame with glass, because they are watercolor and paper. Anything that you do on paper,
You got a
even
frame.
even if it's an oil painting, generally they treat it by putting it under glass.
Right.
And the reason for that, and having a mat on it, is because paper is one of those materials that it's very sensitive to moisture. Okay. So usually when you frame some kind of print or any kind of piece of artwork that's on paper, you're going to put it under a piece of glass with the mat, and it's going to be covered and sealed in the back as well. And that will protect the piece from really shifting and taking in too much moisture on really highly humid days, and or being too dry, on drier days. And the more stable you can keep that piece of paper, the longer it's going to last. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see real quick. June sent this drawing in. Is June here? I don't see her anywhere. Okay. Nope. All right. Well, we'll move on to somebody who is. Larry, are you here? No. Okay. Wow. I'm bombing out today.
No, you had me on mute.
Oh, I did? Well, not intentionally. Okay. All right. So these are your clouds. So here's what I have. So these were the first ones you sent me, right?
Yeah, I've got some more I'm working on.
Okay. And then this is the second one. All right. So how did you keep this so nice and white?
I used the eraser.
Oh, okay. And did you use the eraser on this one as well?
What I did is I blackened the whole thing, came back with the eraser, and I erased where I wanted the clouds to be.
Right.
But I had a little line there to show me where to erase at.
Okay. Well, this one certainly is softer and feels, pretty much so cloud-like.
Yeah, but it didn't capture the essence of a cloud.
Yeah, you don't have the contrast in this that you do up here. And you could use a little more contrast in there. So some stronger darks, stronger lights, I think you would be there. Okay?
Yeah, and I was kind of privately showing you to this. I didn't think they were very good.
Hey, anything that you do, anything you're learning from, that's a good thing to show. So.
But I didn't realize how hard it is to make a 3D cloud.
Yeah, it's harder than you think. Again, you've got to have that range of value. You can't, it's not just a 2 or 3 value thing. You've really got to have that range. of about 5 values. Otherwise, everything kind of still looks flat. Once you get to that.
You got the light source coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it underneath that cloud is going to be just totally black, almost like a thunderhead.
Well, it could be, you know, I mean, but if you look at clouds, again, you know, it's the degree of value. You know, if we looked outside today, like I'm looking outside the window and I'm seeing a cloud, there's some gray underneath it. But when I look at the difference between the value of the underside of the cloud and the blue sky behind it, the blue sky is darker.
But
So
yeah,
again,
with clouds, it's tricky. You know, it all depends on how much moisture is in a cloud to make it darker underneath.
well, it's also
Not like there's 4 types of clouds.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on the type of cloud, type, you know, time of day, you know, where the light is. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors on that very same cloud. You know, different parts of the day will look very differently. So, but all I'm saying to you is, if you're trying to draw something and you're looking at a cloud, pay particular attention to the ranges of value, right? Because everything's not going to be black.
I was thinking on the next try, I would do the darkest at the bottom. And as I work my way up, I would get a little bit lighter as I go up until I get to the very top and get it to the whiteness.
Yeah. All right. But then you also have to put a value in for the sky behind it, you know, if it's open sky and it's blue. So you got to determine what that value is and how dark it's going to be in comparison to the cloud.
Yeah, I've been thinking maybe pull out the watercolor set and put a little light blue back there.
Well, you could, or you could just put graphite back there, you know, put the right gray.
And I've been wanting to put a little color in it.
Okay.
My life has been so drab lately.
Oh, okay.
Put a little color in the clouds then. There
Right,
you
get a
go.
little color in my life. Okay, so
That's the thing about clouds. They can have multicolors in them depending on what time of day it is.
oh, yeah.
From purples to grays, down to oranges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna jump forward here because Wanda, are you here?
I see her. I thought I did.
Yeah, I'm here. I had on.
Yeah, I thought I saw her earlier. Okay. So Wanda sent in a couple of pieces, and I had sent out a kind of a demo, a drawing demo, right? And I was talking because on Friday, the conversation came up about a gesture drawing, trying to capture movement, you know, with the figure, right? And she had sent this in earlier, and we'd seen it before. It's her dancing women, and you know, she was commenting how, unbeknownst to her at the time, you know, she was actually, you know, using, you know, basically what we were talking about, you know, trying to capture the gesture and the movement, you know, in this piece as well as in her ballerina from Degas. And, you know, just having little kind of hints as to how to approach things and thinking it through, you know, it will kind of give you a little insight as in different ways that you can make this easier for yourself and get it to work. The other thing she sent in was her gardenia. Okay. And let's see.
It's a little hybrid because it wasn't a white magnolia. So I put color in it just to give it something different. I was testing out liquid, not liquid, but the liquid pens.
Okay.
And I had bought a set, and I wanted to see how they did.
Okay.
And I like the richness of the color and the different tones. So I was just trying, just experimenting.
Okay. All right. So this is a magnolia.
Yes, it's a hybrid, I'm calling it.
Okay. All right. Well, and look, it's your interpretation of, a magnolia, gardenia, some kind of flower.
Yeah. We're
And
getting ready to lose you. We got like 3 seconds.
yeah, I know.